So I forgot what I was going to say. Um, oh, so since the snow melted my front yard, I was going to get the robot. This robot here. I was going to get it ready to go again. So I put the charger on it. I put the charger on my remote control box, and I put the charger on my little. Here's my little cell phone um, access point that I've been using forever on the thing. And I got everything charged up, and I found out my cell phone modem will not connect. It just sit there looking stupid. It says searching for network, and then never actually does anything. So after spending an entire day trying to dig through their support site, I finally said, open a ticket, and said, my thing does not work. How do I fix it? And I've been several emails back and forth. The last email said, uh, oh, here's instructions of how to fix your camera. And they pointed to some kind of an AT&T camera and gave me all these instructions on it. And that had nothing to do with what I was doing. So I just wrote back, says, I don't have a camera. I have this box, which is documented on your website. It says it should work. I did all the steps and it doesn't work. And apparently I didn't realize, but apparently they closed my ticket thinking that's going to solve all my problems. And just now today I got an email saying, oh, how is our customer support? Is it satisfactory or unsatisfactory? So I'll go down that line and tell them their stuff is garbage. And I think what's happening is when they shut down the 3G network sometime last year, it was sometime in July of 2022, they shut down the 3G network, and apparently people were having problems with this. And so my guess is my SIM card they gave me originally only works with 3G and will not work with 4G. So that's probably what the problem is on that. And in the process, I thought, well, I'll do my phone. So here's just a modern Samsung cell phone that I ended up with, and trying to set up the data on that. So it would do the cell modem data and set up for hotspot. Somewhere along the line says, oh, your plan doesn't support that. So that's not going to work either. So I've got no way to get any cell phone data into my correction for the GPS and my stuff. And I was telling Al earlier that I could either set up a Wi-Fi, put a hotspot, or put a access point on top of my car, and then drive around in my front yard. That'll probably work. Or maybe go to the LoRa radios, or I've got some old like industrial two-way radios that I can hook up to it. So basically, whatever I do, I'd probably have a computer in the house connected to the Minnesota Department of Transportation correction server over the internet, and then whatever comes out of that, I could run it to whatever communication method I have to get the data, push that out to the robot, and get that to work. And I think that's where I'm at right now. I'm at the point I can't get correction data, and I got a whole bunch of things I could try, and just the question is, do I have the ambition to go out and do that? So, and I think that's all they put fiber optic in my house, but they're not going to run the cables out in the street for several months. So I'm still using my DSL at this point. So I think that's I'm gonna say that's all I had to say for this time. Otherwise, I did absolutely nothing all week. So other than fighting with all this stuff. So I'll turn it over to you.
When you get that cable, the thought occurred to me, it'll be interesting to see what sort of latency there is between your robot and your home stuff. I mean, the speed you were talking about, it just got to provide some, I don't know, gazebo opportunity or something. It'll be so fast, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, they claim for my house, the outside world is like 9 millisecond ping time, but going between the robot and that internet has nothing to do with trying to talk the robot into a computer in my house. That'll be whatever, if I set up Wi-Fi or whatever. So that's still a totally separate thing at that point. Although I suppose I could connect to your robot at your house over the internet, and then
yeah,
we could do things like that. But that's just crazy talk.
let me drive your robot around from here.
Yeah.
Okay, on my side, I ran a couple of sessions in the yard using Pure Pursuit, which is fantastic to actually try it out. I'll show you some of the results, which obviously never perfect the first time through, so I still have a lot of work to do to tweak stuff. The biggest thing at the moment is to get my speed control under control, because the Pure Pursuit is going to send a linear X command to say drive, 1 meter a second, and it's not doing that consistently. So that, and because it uses speed to calculate what's the next angular Z based on speed, when it's just screwing everything up. So I've got to really focus on getting my transmission control nailed down. I updated a couple of the embedded programs, the tractor control and the radio control that run on the TTGO board. I've got a little light bar on my radio control, handheld radio control device. And I wanted to display via the LED lights, red, yellow, green, whether it has RTK fix. So I got that working. Got an issue with my map. I'll show you in just a second what that looks like. The IMU is putting out spikes. I need to work through that. My IMU is not producing a linear Z message. It's all zeros. And so I was going to calculate my linear Z and put that in the ODOM topic. Black pill. I have an AliExpress black pill, and for some reason I cannot get my Windows 10 machine to recognize it in UDF. So I certainly can't program it with the Arduino IDE. So I think maybe it's because it's a clone. There's some issue there. So I've got to solder on the programming pins and try the little programmer. I have to remind myself how the heck to do that. And then Ardusimple sent me some advertisement and email, and was poking around their website and was looking over their rover base station. I'll talk about why that looked interesting to me, but to some of the sessions, that's not the one I wanted. That must be the one I wanted. So this is one of the missions that I ran. So over here is the vehicle coming out of the garage, me waiting for RTK fix, and then I get RTK fix and then put it in, I'll call it pure pursuit mode, where it's trying to make its way to the starting point. And this argy-bargy that's going on here is related to its starting and stopping. Again, back to the speed control. So it gets to the starting point and it runs the mission. Somewhere up here, I turn off pure pursuit and take manual control of it again. And then come down here and run 2 circles so that I can see what size is its turning radius, because I had adjusted via software. I had some buffer built in to the turning radius to keep it from doing an extremely hard right and left, which is, there's still a smidgen of buffer, but this is what I've got at the moment on, roughly using plotting the X and Y position out of the ODOM statement, what the circles look like when I drive those.
So before you move on there, what is this plot? What are we seeing? Is this the output of the odometry, or is this off your GPS, or what are we seeing here?
Yeah, this is ODOM X and Y being plotted. They're via plot juggler. This is the full mission, and what I was just showing was a highlight of those 2 circles.
So that's when you say ODOM, is that the result of either wheel odometry or the GPS odometry, or is that something else that we're looking at here?
Well, it's 99% of the time it's going to be, I've just moved over to my tractor. 99% of the time it's going to be RTK fix, and then there's a couple of dropouts where it would then be supplemented by wheel odometry. So as an example, I think that little smidgen there is where this occurred. And it dropped RTK fix and started to go to wheel odometry.
So when you're running with the GPS and it's putting out latitude and longitude, and there's something that converts that to your XY location, that's basically what you're plotting there. So we're seeing the position of your GPS antenna as this drives around.
Yep.
So do you have a way to plot directly what the information coming out of your wheel odometry is doing? Take that XY. So if you can plot them both at the same time, so you know the GPS will give you a fixed reference where you're supposed to be, and the one coming off your wheel odometry is probably going to tell you where it thinks base link is supposed to be, and you can put those two plots on top of each other as you drive around to see what's going on there.
Yeah, so I could do that. At the moment, I have one ODOM being published, and it's it is a combination of, if I have RTK fix, it's going to use lat/lon of RTK fix and plot that out. If I lose RTK fix, that's when it kicks over to the wheel odometry. So I could push out, ODOM 2 or ODOM wheel, and then compare the two. Yeah.
The other thing is, I noticed those two circles are a different diameter. The first one you posted on Slack, which if you just pull up Slack right now and display that picture, or unless you have it handy. But anyway, the two circles seem to be radically different.
They were. They were.
So my question is, why is that? And I thought maybe when you're taking your wheel odometry, you're just using either the left wheel or the right wheel. So as you drive one direction or the other, that would account for those two circles being different sizes. So I was wondering if that's what you're doing, or if there's some other reason why that is. And then even your new stuff, I see they're not the same size. So I just wondering why that is.
So if I go to, let's see, where is it? This is my, no, that's radio control. There's tractor control. If I do a search on limit, this is the range of readings I get from my analog potentiometer that is, effectively telling me my actual angle or steering position. It has a, if I physically move my wheel all the way to the right, my potentiometer reads 520. If I move it all the way to the left, it reads 3400. Instead of 3400, I put the limit to be 3300, which is a combination of that number minus a little bit of safety margin. So the reason those two circles were of different size previously is because I had one a little bit closer to, the extreme left and right. So then they're still a little bit different. I've forgotten whether this must be going left. It's a 3.35 meter circle, diameter circle, and this is 2.8. So there's still a little bit of gap. I think by design, the tractor actually has a tighter turning radius going one direction versus another. I don't know why that is. I think it has something to do with which side the discharge is on. I think they would generally want you driving, making a right-hand turn when you have to go really tight. Anyway, but programmatically, the reason those were different is because, these were these settings were different. And I'm just, trying to get the smallest circle possible, but not jamming up against the axle, which is what happens when you do a really, really, really hard right or left. Did that answer your question? Do I still have you?
I see I was on mute. It's just that from the time you started with your lawn tractor, you kept saying that it would turn sharper one direction than the other. And I didn't know why, because when you look at the way your steering is set up, it looks like that big gear plate with the two connecting rods, that seems like that all should be symmetrical, but it could be they've got something right on the axle, either a hard stop, or maybe you said the tires rub on the axle if you turn too sharp. So maybe it is something, mechanical that is causing that to happen. And then the other point is, whatever's the sharpest turn, left or right, just make sure the other one, or no, whatever's not the sharpest turn, then just in your software say that's how far it can go, and don't let it turn sharper than that in the other direction, even though it can. That way it would be, you could artificially make it symmetrical by doing that. So if those two circles you just had, and one said 3.3 meters and the other said 2.8 meters, if you just set up your stuff so even going the other direction, the one that's 2.8 can't go any smaller than 3.5, 3.3, whatever it says, 3.35, then they would both be the same. You say go full left, it'd be one way, go full right, they'd be an equal size. And that way, even though it can physically turn a little sharper in one direction, you just ignore that and just move on with that, I guess.
Yeah, I hear you. So I still have a little bit of, effectively at 3,300, and I can go up to 3,400 and tighten that down a little bit more. The same with the right hand. So I still have a little bit of room to play with there.
I guess I don't know on mine if I take it out and do what you're doing, full left and full right. I think I looked one time and I thought mine were fairly close, and a lot of it just has to do with tweaking that, I've never really tried to say here's the final numbers and this is what it's going to do. So I haven't really looked at that too hard, but I was just, again, when I look at your circles and the different sizes, I just thought that was curious.
The other thing that just came up is, this is me starting my Pure Pursuit launch file and doing real world. And when I ran my first mission, my tractor was where it was supposed to be, which is right in the middle here. Now this morning, it's way down here, and I do not know what in the heck is causing that. So I thought first it was a version control thing, and in my software that controls the GPS, there's a physical lat lawn in there that's meant to represent that. And I thought maybe I somehow went back to an older version, or that got corrupted, but no, that software is still right. So that's also something I've got to investigate, is why the heck my map is off so much when I don't think I changed it. Well, I certainly didn't change anything on purpose. So that's another issue. A couple of changes in my software just to show you what that. This is the tractor control. This is the radio control. I was going to show, how did I lose that? Dagnabbit. I'm gonna get there. Display LID. Y is Control C and Control V. There we go. Well, it's not the OLED, it's the LED. So again, I have I think 4 or 5. Well, this will tell me 0 through 3. So four LEDs. At the moment, I'm not using 2 of them. One of them I use to provide the status of the radio signal, and now this is the second use of that, is to it updated the data structure for the radio transmission on LoRa, and this is a 1 byte field that I'm transmitting, and I use that to say whether I'm red, green, or yellow based on the RTK status. So it's a helpful, so I can pull the tractor out of the garage, let it sit there for about 30 seconds, maybe 45 seconds before it picks up RTK. And then I know that I'm at least got RTK signal and I can move on. So it's a bit of a safety feature. The other thing I did from a safety feature standpoint is in my, I had previously checked to see if command velocity, if I was receiving a command velocity signal in every half a second. That's what this interval command is set to. And so I added to the tractor program, not only to get to subscribe to the RTK status, but also to set a flag on have I received a signal within, in this case, again, I set it at half a second. And at the moment, the only thing that would happen is the LED is going to go red. But now that I've got the data, I can build something a little bit more robust about, well, I've got wheel odometry, but how long do I want to run on wheel odometry before I would do something more aggressive if this were to, stop for a significant amount of time. But again, on the fix, in a couple of minutes worth of running, I got that, which is about, I think I pulled that up, and it's about it's got to be more than half a second, but and I still don't know why I got that, but it was that's the one outage that I experienced. So what is that? No, I can't. Something on the screen is stopping me from being able to see the bottom of that. So it was down maybe a second. I lost RTK. So anyway, that's give you a sense of the stability of my RTK signal. And I mentioned the black pill, and then this was the thing that was interesting. I just wanted to pull back up. Man, they have got this really nicely packaged, and I was just looking at it to see how they packaged their I think this is actually the survey tower, because that's got a point at the bottom of it, which would be the actual point. So this isn't the base station, but they do provide in their service 2 of those. And I was mostly looking at it to see what their physical base station looked like, and they didn't actually have pictures of physical base station, but they did go through. I mean, that's the unit. And that fits onto this bracket that then gets attached to the pole with that deal. And then they've got a wire there for their radio and a wire there for plugging into the phone. So I'm not exactly sure what software is running on the phone, but holy cow, was that a slick implementation of in this case, the GPS, but I was looking at it for, hey, how could I make a base station as nice as there? Jeff doesn't have to worry about that because he gets correction data. I don't have to generate my own correction data. Anyway, I thought that was interesting and thought I would share that. That's it for me. Unless you want to remind me how the heck to program a black pill using the, what is it called? The ST link thing. I guess I just changed the upload thing in the Arduino IDE, right? To say ST link.
I believe so, yes.
So I just got to solder it on there.
Yeah, hook that up and try it and see if it complains, and then you might have. If that doesn't work, then maybe there's something else obvious that you're doing wrong. But
does that make sense though, that because it's a clone, they might have not have put the bootloader on there or whatever they needed to put on there for Windows to see it?
No, because that bootloader is built right into the chip when they manufacture the chip. So assuming it's a real ST micro chip on there, whether it's a clone or the real board, it should be exactly the same. There still might be something about what order you do, put it into boot mode and so forth. And I actually once I had to load, I loaded the new Arduino core. I was running that a version of the Roger Clark stuff. Then I went to the ST micro stuff that you're running right now. And after I did it, my Windows stopped programming. So I have to go through the step you did. I have to load the program, the ST micro programmer package on there. So I can do it through Linux. I haven't tried it under Windows. So it could be that, I have exactly the same problem, and I just haven't gotten that far to identify that.
Yeah, so I mean, fundamentally, then my issue is the OS is not recognizing the board, and I deleted and reloaded the ST software a couple of times trying to get, quote unquote, the right driver installed, but still no joy. So I thought I would try to program it through the ST link thing just to see, number one, does the chip actually work? And well, then we'll go from there.
Does the LED on the board do anything? It's
Yeah.
got that output LED.
I mean, if you, when you initially give it power, both LED lights blink, one ostensibly because they've got the blink program running on it. And then if you hold down the buttons the way they say, then the blue LED stops and then the red LED stays lit.
So if you got LEDs blinking, your chip does work. It's just a matter of figuring out how to program the thing.
Anyway, that's what's going on here.
And the one LED on the board, they're probably not both blinking, because one of them I think is just tied to the power. So if you got power on it, if it's red and blue, then the red one is probably just on whenever the thing is powered, and then the blue one is controlled. That's just like on a regular Arduino, what they call a pin 13 LED, and that's just that does whatever the processor tells it to do. So I say mine may or may not work under Windows, because after I got everything reloaded, it stopped working. That was working originally. I could do that, and now it doesn't work. So, but I haven't gone back and looked at it.
Yeah, I'm getting the behavior that you just mentioned, the red is all, I think, pretty much always on. So it's interesting. It's a bit of a challenge to make those work, but hey ho, there you go.
Yep.
So speed control, that's the number one thing for me, is to get speed more controlled. And I guess my next plan B, if I can't work out the PID on the way it is now, is to do what you suggested at one time, and that is lower the control arm on the physical servo. Right now it's about 2 inches above the center of the servo axis. So if I lowered that an inch, that would give me more resolution on the actual servo, and as long as I don't lose too much power doing that, should still be able to drive it. But that's a pain in the butt because getting to the servo is a knuckle scraping exercise. So I'm trying to avoid that. Anyway, what else did you forget that you didn't mention?
I was going to bring up, somewhere on the first screen, you said that you're not getting linear X out of your IMU. And I think the reason is that because the IMU does not measure speed. It will give you acceleration. So if you look under the acceleration.x, the number should be changing there. If you really wanted to, you could integrate that, and that will give you a speed, but that's never very reliable. So probably best off not trying to rely on that in the first place. When you first said that, I thought, well, I thought you were talking about the angular Z, which we were, that was going to tell you how fast your vehicle's turning. I thought that's what you were talking about originally, and then I realized, oh, you're talking about the linear. And as I thought through that, I thought, oh yeah, they probably don't they don't bother to tell you that anyway. So
Well, I yeah, I mistyped then. I said linear Z. Which data element is it that tells you how fast you're rotating around the Z axis?
that would be the angular Z.
Yeah, let me see if I can pull up.
If you're trying to go with linear Z, that means your thing is jumping up and down. You better hope that one's always zero.
So in the pose, I'll better share my screen here. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
So I've opened up the pose message, and I've opened up, there's a pose part and a twist part. If I go down here to the pose part, and I get position, I get XYZ, which is what you would expect. And I get, that pose. What I'm specifically thinking is in the twist message, pose is, here's the way my head works. I'm thinking this is basically yaw. Not basically, it is yaw. It is what in radians, what is the current position of the IMU. I was thinking in the twist part of this Z was how fast am I rotating around the Z axis?
That's correct.
In radians per second.
Correct.
This data element is yeah, this is a mess because it's giving me some spikes that then show, which I don't know why, but
well, that's angle. Oh, no, that is Angular Z. Okay.
It's the twist angular Z. And it's giving me crazy settings that I was going to somehow filter those spikes. I'm assuming they're just spikes, and I'm not actually turning at 2,000 meters a second.
If you're to zoom in on that, zoom in on that flat line, there may be that looks more reasonable, as you would turn. If you're driving in a circle, that should be at some rate, like, 1 radian per second or whatever. And you turn that direction, it'll be like a -1 radian per second, whatever those numbers would come out.
Well,
So
does it
yeah,
make sense to filter that? I mean, you can't turn more than pi radians per second.
well, you can't turn faster than whatever your system allows you, but yeah, if you get numbers like 1,000, that's just crazy talk there. So
Yeah, so I was thinking I would filter.
see, right on the left there, you got kind of a nice curve coming up. That's probably is your.
And again, we're into a quarter of a second here. No, actually less than that.
But yeah, I would say the spike shouldn't be there, and I don't know where they're coming from. I don't know if it doesn't seem like vibration would do that, but maybe it's vibration on your vehicle that you got the gasoline engine running on there, or it could be that just something wrong with their software. Or is their software basically to take this is the I got with a B&O 80 chip on there or something.
Yeah, somebody called Chip Robotics took a B&O 80 and packaged it up. And I mean, their driver is actually doing the read of the IMU.
Do they give you a code for that so you can see what they're doing there?
Yeah, it's let's see, where do I have that?
Because I'm guessing what they do is they just simply go out to the chip and say, what is your Angular Z value, and then just stuff it into a message and send it to you. So I'm just trying to think they got something else in between there going on.
I need to clean up my GitHub. For some reason, these daggone arrows showed up, and that means yeah, we know it's in your GitHub, but it's a different GitHub, and I don't know how to get it online. Bear with me.
One thing that can cause a problem like that, if you got your major GitHub with everything in it, if the individual pieces have their own GitHub, their own Git associated with them, then it may do that. So what you can do is go out to the directory all this stuff is in there. There'll probably be a hidden file called .git, and that's what. So that means it's trying to do its own Git on that subdirectory or something.
Yeah, and is the fix as easy as deleting that .get?
I think so. Now once it's all put in there, I don't know if that'll fix it or not. You could try creating some bogus package, or a package you don't really need, and load it in there. And if it's giving you the problem, then delete that .get and see if that fixes your problem on that. I know it works. Somebody kept complaining because people would do a git clone, and then they check it into our main git repository, and that would screw everything up. So that, I think that was basically what it turned out to be. You had to delete that .git, and that way you lose the tracking on anything up to that point, but then it's the main one then will keep track of it after that.
So anyway, your question is, yes, I've got the access to the driver.
Yeah, so you could go through that and look at it and say, is that the only value that's doing that, or are all your values putting out weird spikes like that?
Yeah, I haven't seen any spikes on the other on anything else, but again, I've only, like, this is my pose which is the X and Y come from the GPS, but the angle, the yaw, is coming from the IMU. I haven't seen any, but hey, well, we can. Yeah, is that? I guess there are some spikes in that Bose statement, which is coming from the.
It looks like they're just simply dropping to 0. So for whatever reason, that sample, it looks like it missed a sample for some reason when it was doing the read. So that might just be something funny about the way they're communicating the chip. They might be losing values. But you don't have anything that's going up to 1,000 or whatever. In this case, it's just simply, it looks like it's dropping readings, and they give you an output of 0 for that time period. And whether it's going positive or negative, because on the right there you got some that are jumping back up to the 0 line. But is that, no, that's not 0. What is that? It's
Minus, I mean, the low point here is -1 to +1.
so I guess I don't know why it would be jumping back to that point if it misses a sample. I don't know. I don't know what that's doing. It could be something funny in their driver software. They're just, did something wrong at that point. You might even check to see, go back to their website or wherever you got this, and see if they got a newer version of it. It could be maybe they've fixed some things too.
Yeah, that's reasonable. An interesting point is the callback for this IMU is running at 150 hertz. It's like, well, it's the fastest thing I've dealt with. And I only know that because I had to put in a couple of lines of code to say, hey, if you've got 0 on the time change, ignore that. And about, well, it's just interesting to see how many times it is running so fast that the computer time is not, it shows 0 time difference. But anyway, 150 hertz is what that IMU is running at. That's all I got.
Okay, it's all I got too.